Hello, candle lovers! Thank you so much for tuning in to me today. My name is Greg, and this is all Aboot candles. Happy Sunday, everyone. Every Sunday, I like to do the weekly wax wrap-up. This is when I go through all of the candles that I have finished burning recently, talk a little bit about how they smelled, how they performed, all of that good stuff. We have so much catching up to do. After the candles, we're going to talk a bit about Bath & Body Works. We're going to talk about Goose Creek. We're going to talk about Voluspa. Gonna give you guys a bit of an update. I'm sorry I couldn't post any videos last week. Oof, I was so sick, my friends. Ooh, just thinking about it makes me feel sick. I hadn't been sick like that for a hot minute. I apologize that I have been off the radar, but I just could not bring myself to sit up here in my chair in front of the camera the way that I was feeling. Oh, girl. We're going to do some burning questions. We're going to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. We're going to talk about All's Fair. So much to get to. Just so you know, I do mark all of my videos with chapters, so feel free to navigate towards whatever parts of this video you find interesting. However, I highly suggest watching every single second of my captivating content. All right, off we go, folks. Let's start with Cranberry and Eucalyptus from Bath & Body Works. I thought that this packaging was okay. I think these candles actually look quite nice in person. There's a real sort of glossiness to the wraparound on this collection that I thought was really quite chic, and we had a cute lid on these candles as well. Cranberry and Eucalyptus, however, was not a big winner for me. This was a new fragrance this season, although it doesn't really smell like anything super new and noteworthy. The scent notes on it were bright cranberries, fresh eucalyptus, and a pinch of spice. You know what? It just didn't give me what I wanted it to give me. When I smelled it on cold, I was a little bit more intrigued at first, but after having burned it, I mean, it really didn't like transform or come alive in any sort of significant way when it was burning, and I wanted a lot more eucalyptus. To me, it smells a little bit like frosted cranberry, but not quite as sweet. It also smells a little bit like cranberry woods, but without that woodsiness. I do pick up on a little bit of eucalyptus, but when this candle is burning, for me, it just smelled like a fairly generic cranberry fragrance. And I'm also, just so you know, I'm not a huge cranberry person in the first place, but you know that I like to try a new fragrance if it comes out in candle form. I don't think this is going to be a repurchase for me or a recommendation for you. I would rather just burn cranberry woods. It is a fairly bright and sweet cranberry note, and you do get just a teeny little bit of that sort of crisp, kind of cooling eucalyptus vibe, but I smell that more on cold than I did when the candle was actually burning. Like I said, it really just comes across as a fairly run-of-the-mill cranberry fragrance when it's burning. What else does it list? A pinch of spice? I'm not even really picking up on that much. Not a very well-balanced fragrance, a pretty top-heavy cranberry note, not a lot of balance. I mean, just not a big winner for me, folks. I hate to say it. The candle burned all right, though. It did get just a little bit sooty and discolored, and that wasn't because I let it burn too long. I noticed around the 1/3 mark, it was starting to get just a little bit like dark and swirly. It wasn't terrible, though. I did burn it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. You know, I just kind of felt like I had to see it through. I'd say that the strength and throw on this wasn't great. Maybe in my more open space, like a 5.5. Like a 5 or a 5.5. I did have it in the bedroom for a little while. It was probably giving me about a 6 in there. So it was totally like noticeable and detectable just not noteworthy, guys. Kind of a bummer, to be honest with you. Cranberry and Eucalyptus, like I said, not gonna be a repurchase for me, and really not a recommendation for you either. I think that if you want a cranberry candle from Bath and Body Works, you're better off to go with frosted cranberry if you want something sweeter, and that has pretty good strength and throw as well, or cranberry woods if you want something a little bit more deeper and woodsy, and that candle also has better strength and throw than I found that this one did. Shucks. I don't think that we're gonna be seeing this come back next year, but I mean, you never know. Sometimes Bath and Body Works just decides that we're gonna like something, and they keep bringing it back year after year, even though there was such a lukewarm reception to it in the first place, right? Meh. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. This candle, I love this candle. This is Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice. I thought this was one of the prettiest collections that Bath and Body Works put out this fall. I just love this foresty, sort of painterly wraparound on this collection. I thought these candles looked great, and I even love this oval around the text box with the iridescent golden leaves. Just lovely. And we had a cute green lid on this collection as well. I'm pretty sure this is green. If you guys are new to my channel, I am quite colorblind, and so if I'm getting colors wrong, just let me know in the comment section below. Feel free to correct me. The scent notes on Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice are heirloom pumpkin, patchouli, and fall spices. I love this. This is a fairly like mid to low ranging fragrance, which I just love. And it doesn't have that super typical autumnal kitchen spice blend that you get so much this time of year, like a lot of cinnamon, you know, the nutmeg. There is some of that in here, but it's sort of a nice sort of almost like a dry and dusty spice blend. And I mean dry and dusty in like a good way. I think that's part of what gives it that sort of farmhouse feel, and also a substantial amount of patchouli. It's not like a really like funky or sharp patchouli. It's actually kind of a nice smooth patchouli with maybe just a little bit of spice to it as well, a little bit of sharpness. And there is a pumpkin note in here also, which is quite lovely, like an actual pumpkin note aside from just the pumpkin spices that you're getting in spades. There's also a little bit of a subtle, smooth, slightly sweet pumpkin fragrance in here. Oh, I really love this one. This is so good. It's deep, it's rich, it's robust. It's a very like rustic fragrance. I actually think if I were to have one note on the fragrance alone, I feel like if there was something in the upper register of the fragrance, I like deep, dark, rich, like lower, like bassier fragrances. And so I love it, but if I was to really critique the fragrance, and I'm nitpicking here, maybe I would put something on the top of this fragrance to just something a little bit bright, just to balance it out a little bit more. However, don't mess with it, Bath and Body Works. I will take it as it is. I think that this is lovely. The candle performed all right. This one also got a little bit murky and swirly, but not until the end. The first 2/3 of it were perfectly clean and lovely, but then yeah, that last third of the candle, not only was it dudding out just a little bit, but it was getting a little bit dark and murky. I burned it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. There's actually like nothing left in here at all. I really enjoyed this one. I'd say that the strength and throw was a pretty solid 6 in my more open space, like a very noticeable fragrance. In the bedroom, it was definitely getting to like a 6.5, maybe even like a 7 with like really good, deep, even wax pool burns. It was maybe getting up to a 7 in my bedroom, which I'd say is like a moderately like medium to large-ish space. Yeah, I really, really love Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice, and I just thought that this version was beautiful. I did purchase a backup of this fragrance, and I have no real reason not to recommend it. However, the last third of the candle was giving me a couple problems. Okay, I also finished up Sunrise Woods from Bath and Body Works. And I thought that this was another really beautiful collection that they gave us in the fall time. Really, really, really stunning. I loved a lot of the candles in this collection. I thought this collection had a beautiful version of mahogany vanilla in it as well. And I love the touch of like a cream colored lid with like dirt and like soot on it from my sooty fingers. The scent notes on Sunrise Woods are creamy sandalwood, sweet berries, and cozy cashmere. And I think that this is a berry fragrance first and foremost. It just says sweet berries. I'd say that it's kind of like maybe like a raspberry blackberry combo, but not like it's a very smooth like raspberry blackberry combo. It's not like a sharp, really sweet granular berry note. It is quite highly pitched. I'd say this is fairly high in like the fragrance register, and it's that berry note that pops first, but there is also a really nice smoothness to it, which comes from the sandalwood that I really appreciate. There is sort of a little bit of a cashmere vibe to this fragrance, which I think is what gives it a little bit of a body care vibe. This has come out in body care, I believe, for the last couple of years. It definitely smells like one of those really like classic Bath and Body Works like berry body care fragrances. I liked it. This isn't super up my alley, but there was something kind of lovely and sweet and refreshing about it that I enjoyed, especially this time of year when we end up with a lot of like sort of darker like gourmands and spices and lots of cinnamon. I think that this makes for a nice, almost like a palate cleanser in the fall time. Just a nice, smooth, like bright berry note with a lovely like woodsy creaminess to it. Yeah, I really enjoyed Sunrise Woods actually. Not spectacular, but I enjoyed it. I burned it all the way down until there was like nothing left on there. This candle performed nicely. It was a really, really clean burn from top to bottom. It did have the thin core wicks on it. It never dudded out or gave me issues. Really good, solid, smooth burn from beginning to end. The strength and throw on this wasn't spectacular. I'd say that in my more open space, it was like a 5 or a 5.5. So it was noticeable. I could tell that it was there. I did put it in the bedroom for a little while where it was getting up to about a 6. That's just kind of where we're averaging out with Bath and Body Works strength and throw right now. I feel we're like a 5.5, 6 in a more open area, a 6 maybe getting up to a 7 in the bedroom for most of their candles these days, I find. Yeah, Sunrise Woods. I'm not running out to repurchase this one. I'd recommend it. I think this is a candle that a lot of people would find really lovely and palatable. Yeah, I didn't mind it. It was a good one. It was a good one. I also finished up a couple fresh balsam candles. It's a little bit earlier in the year than I usually start burning candles like this, like really pungent pine needle, like Christmas tree type candles, but I just had a hankering for it. I really, really did, and I ended up going through 2 fresh balsams quite quickly, and I did want to bring to your attention, folks, because, you know, I think we're going to see these candles when semi-annual sale rolls around, or sorry, Candle Day, maybe both. We had 2 versions of fresh balsam on the floor, and they're both still on the floor, and they performed incredibly differently. Like, long story short, definitely go for this one instead of this one. This one, I mean, not only do I not like the packaging on this one as much, but it really didn't perform as well and gave me some burn issues. This one had like thick, ropey wicks on it and colored wax. The lid was kind of cute. Oh look, you can see my stockings are hung by the chimney with care. You can see them in the reflection there. This version of fresh balsam performed much better. And I think that this is much nicer packaging. I like the packaging on this candle a lot. And this one looked absolutely gorgeous when it was burning as well. I really like the packaging on this one. Just sort of simplistic and chic. And we had a cool lid on this one as well. We don't see a lid like this very often. This is kind of a unique lid here. Anyways, yeah, 2 fresh balsams on the floor could not have performed differently. The scent notes on fresh balsam are woodland balsam, crisp eucalyptus, fir branches, and cedar wood. I mean, I think that most of us know what this candle smells like. It's a very sharp, pungent, bright balsam note. The eucalyptus in there really gives it like a sharp personality. And the fir branches are just so like three-dimensional in fragrance, you know? Lots of people love fresh balsam. And this is one of the strongest Bath & Body Works candles that they put out this time of year. I always enjoy it. This is a candle that I've been burning forever. And so this one was just constantly plagued by itty bitty wicks and teeny tiny flames, thick ropey wicks and colored wax on it. I want to say, I think even the first burn was a little bit of a struggle. Like, took a really long time to pool out. There were some good burns on it in this range here where it seemed to do pretty well, but then almost the entire last half of the candle was just dudding out to the point where I would take a little bit of wax out of the candle when I blew it out, hoping that the next burn would do a little bit better, and then the next burn would do a little bit better for about an hour, and then it would just start dudding out again. Itty bitty wicks and teeny tiny flames, you guys. I do not recommend purchasing this version of the candle. It just did not do well at all. But this one, however, did quite nicely, and this had white wax and those like thin core wicks on it. I mean, just look at the difference in the wicks on these two here. Yeah, thin core wicks and white wax is usually a much better recipe for Bath & Body Works candles these days. It was a really nice clean burn from top to bottom. I burned them both all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. I'd say that the strength and throw on this candle this year is like a 7 in my more open space and probably a 7.5 or an 8 in the bedroom. However, I was consistently getting much better wax pools in a much quicker period with this version. And so even though I think that the strength and throw, like, if this candle was burning properly, I think the strength and throw would have been the same, but this candle came across like it was substantially stronger because it was just burning in a so much more powerful way, you know? That's fresh balsam. I mean, I'm gonna repurchase that candle. I love fresh balsam. I get at least 1 or 2 of those every year. I'm sure you guys know what it smells like. My biggest tip, like I said, go for this version, folks. Go for that version. Okay, I also finished up a freshly brewed coffee from Bath and Body Works. What year was this poured in? This isn't from this year. This one was poured in 2023. I like freshly brewed coffee. I do not like this packaging though. I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with coffee for one thing, except for maybe the color of the wax. I like the color of the wax. This is pretty much how I like my coffee. Just a little bit of cream in there, you know what I mean? We had kind of a cute lid on this candle as well. This is probably one of my favorite coffee fragrances from Bath & Body Works. The scent notes on it just say, enjoy the room-filling aroma of fresh coffee beans as you pour yourself a cup of ambition. There was another Bath & Body Works candle not too long ago that said something very similar in the scent notes. And in the comment section, we were all like quoting Dolly Parton. How does that song go? Pour yourself a cup of ambition. You right? Is that a line from a Dolly Parton song? Is it 9 to 5? Working 9 to 5, just trying to make a living. Anyways, freshly brewed coffee. This fragrance does remind me a little bit of Paris Cafe, except Paris Cafe has an extremely like roasted and toasted vibe to it. Roasted and toasted almost to the point that it's burnt. And in Paris Cafe, it's that roasted scent note that just takes the strength and throw like up into the atmosphere. It is so strong. Whereas this one is a lot more nuanced. It does have a roasty component to it, but it's not nearly as roasty as that Paris Cafe candle. I think that this one is a little bit smoother. There is a little bit more of a creaminess to it. You still get that sort of roasted, crunchy texture of the coffee beans. But it's just not quite as roasty and strong as Paris Cafe. There's a little bit more of a smoothness to this fragrance that I appreciate. And when you're burning this candle, it really does smell like you've got a nice pot of coffee on the go. It's a fairly authentic coffee fragrance in my opinion. Not a lot of bells and whistles, you know? I appreciate that it's just a fairly straightforward coffee fragrance, you know? No frappuccino, no caramel, no swirl, just coffee with maybe a little bit of cream, right? Not a lot of sweetness in here either, which I like. Yeah, I think this might be my favorite coffee fragrance from Bath & Body Works. It's a good one. It's just pretty simple and straightforward, but also nicely balanced and just a little bit nuanced. A bit of a crunchy roastiness, but also just a dollop of like a smooth creaminess as well. Yeah, this candle performed all right. I burned it all the way down until the whole thing had liquefied there. I'd say that the strength and throw on this was pretty good. In my more open space, this was getting up to like a 6.5, maybe even a 7. I never put this candle in the bedroom. This isn't a bedroom fragrance for me, but I'd say that the really good deep burns on it were getting to like a 7 in my more open area, which is really good for a Bath & Body Works candle these days. Especially considering, like I said, in a more open space, a 7 work. Yeah, I like freshly brewed coffee. I probably will repurchase this candle at some point in the near future. I have no reason not to recommend it to you either if you like coffee fragrances. I don't think that we have this on the floor right now, do we? I think it's been a minute or two since we've seen freshly brewed coffee, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back fairly soon. And I was glad to have sort of, made some progress clearing some of my stash of candles out this fall as well. I also finished up Autumn Chai. This Autumn Chai candle came out in the Fall Gourmand collection this year, along with like blueberry maple pancakes and that strawberry strudel candle that I actually really liked. I think this packaging is okay. Definitely nothing to like jump up and scream about, but it's okay. I really do like the color of the wax on here. I can't tell you what color it is because of my color blindness, but I like it. I do like it. And we also had a cute lid on this candle. Yeah, I don't think we've seen this lid before exactly. Autumn Chai, I'm always a little bit on the fence about chai fragrances. I gotta be in the right mood for them. I thought this was a nice chai fragrance. The scent notes are cinnamon chai, French vanilla froth, and smooth caramel. So it's got like a very similar chai note as what you get in like a Bath & Body Works white pumpkin fragrance. Like to me, their white pumpkin candle is a very straightforward like chai fragrance. And my favorite is white pumpkin and oak wood. I really, really like that one. This is a little bit more of a sweeter and more gourmandy chai fragrance because of that caramel. And there is a substantial amount of caramel in here as well, which is a bit of a turnoff for me. It's got that It's got that really kind of like sticky, sweet, ooey gooey caramel scent note in there. Like maybe just a dash of that like caramel drizzle fragrance that Bath and Body Works does that I'm not a huge fan of. It makes it just a little bit sweeter than I would want it to be, you know? And so for a chai fragrance, I think I would stick with something like white pumpkin and oak wood, because that's like a chai fragrance with a really nice, like robust woodsiness to it. Whereas this is like, you know, that caramel note overpowers the blend of chai spices just a little bit, which I don't really appreciate. There is also like a bit of a smooth vanilla note in here as well, but yeah, I just get a little bit too much cinnamon and caramel in this one. I didn't mind burning it, like I didn't hate it, just not my favorite when it comes to a chai fragrance. It was all right though. The candle performed pretty well. I burned it all the way down until there was like nothing left on there. I'd say that in my more open space, it was probably like a 6 for strength and throw. Yeah, I'd say it was a pretty good solid 6. It never went anywhere else in my place. It just stayed in the more open concept, and I'd say it was getting up to about a 6. So to me, that's adequate. Just not a favorite like chai fragrance for me. You know what I mean? Let's move on to one more Bath and Body Works candle. This is super random, but this is linen sheets. Super random, folks. I thought that this collection was cute. Not too long ago, I had a, what was it? Was it Cuddle Weather candle from this collection on my weekly wax wrap up. Linen sheets, so this was a melter candle for me. I just had this like melting under the candle lamp in my kitchen for the week. Usually I melt like gourmand fragrances in my kitchen, but for some reason this week I just wanted something that was a little bit like brighter and fresher and airier in there, and this one was all right. The scent notes on linen sheets are fresh ocean air, anjou pear, violet petals, and warm vanilla. Yeah, it's a very classic, like soft linen-y fragrance. It does remind me a little bit of sun-drenched linen, but it's a bit softer, I think, than sun-drenched linen is. Sun-drenched linen also has like that apple note in it. Sun-drenched linen really does do a good job of sort of conveying that sunny feeling, whereas this doesn't really have that. This is more like sort of like freshly warmed linen sheets, you know, like out of the dryer. It's a little bit of a warmer, softer linen fragrance. I don't really pick up on the pear in there. I get a considerable amount of cashmere, which isn't listed, sort of like that, you know, violet, lavender, floral, cashmere-y vibe. The ocean air, I think, signifies something a little bit like citrusy and briny. I get a little bit of like a citrusy brininess from this one as well. It can be kind of hard dissecting, you know, those kind of soapy laundry fragrances like linen sheets, sun-drenched linen, laundry day. Yeah, I thought this pretty run-of-the-mill, you know? I'm not too sure why I picked this one up in the first place, to be honest with you, because like I said, I would really just prefer sun-drenched linen for the most part. But it did a pretty good job under the candle lamp in the kitchen. I'd say that my kitchen is like a medium-sized space, and this was definitely getting up to like a 7 when it was warming in there underneath the candle lamp. Yeah, definitely a really solid 7 for strength and throw in there. Yeah, pretty good. I don't, you know, there's not really that much more to say when I just like lamp or I melt a candle. Once I am done like melting a candle under a candle lamp, I'll put it into that candle crock and just suck the rest of the fragrance out of there. So the lid actually has more fragrance on it now than the wax does. All right, I also finished up a witch's brew from Goose Creek. Look at the spectacular label. I'm gonna have to explain myself here a little bit. This is what the label looked like for Witch's Cauldron. So when this candle showed up at my place, it was broken. But it wasn't broken really badly. There was just a little chip off the top of the jar, but then there was a fairly deep looking crack that ran all the way down the jar and right to the bottom of it, so I couldn't burn it or even like risk melting it. And so what I did is I performed surgery. I did contact Goose Creek, obviously, and I sent them a photo, so they refunded me, but they wouldn't send me another one, right? And the jar wasn't so bad that I didn't think that I could save the candle, and so I attempted to save it, and I was actually reasonably successful. Now, I do not recommend doing this, because the odds are fairly high that you will end up cutting yourself at some point in the process. But what I did was I put the broken candle into a canvas bag, and I put that in my freezer for a day. The next day I took it out, and while it was still in the canvas bag, I jostled the wax out of it. And I was able to get the wax out of it very, very cleanly. I took it out of the bag and just checked, gave it a bit of a dust off to make sure there was no glass left on it. And then I transferred it into another empty glass Goose Creek jar that I had. And then I looked at the jar, I took it out of the bag, and I was like, it was still in like perfect shape. And so I took an X-Acto knife and I started my surgery, and I just cut the wraparound label down, and I peeled the wraparound label off, and then I put the wraparound label back on the candle, and I just used some like regular tape to put it back together. And so it looked like it was just perfectly fine. I actually did a really, really good job of like reconstructing this candle, but I knew that I had just used this like regular tape on it, and that tape was probably going to be much more heat sensitive than it should have been. And so I made a mental note to like never burn this candle when it was out of my eyesight, right? Like I said earlier, I do not recommend doing this, you guys. You're likely either going to cut yourself or set your house on fire. So do as I say, not as I do. But I was like, because this is one of my favorite Halloween candles from Goose Creek. Of all of the candles in that order to break on me, it had to be one of the ones that I was looking forward to the most. So I did a pretty good job of fixing it. But when I was burning it, and I think I did take some video of it, which I'll put up at some point here, it was fine for the first half, but then, towards the middle of the candle, the tape did start to, heat up and peel off. And the more that I burned it, the more the label just wanted to come off and peel off. And so eventually I was like, okay, this isn't worth it. What a disaster. I just took the label off completely and I burned it normally. But then when I got down to about the 1/3 mark, the wicks started to drift all over the place, as you can see there. And, that can also be kind of a dangerous situation. And so I just had to call it a day at this point. But hey, it did pretty well, and it gave me the strength and throw that I was looking for the most part. I had to get the scent notes off of the internet since they weren't on that jar, obviously. And I actually found like top, middle, and base notes for this fragrance. So the top notes are Witch's Brew and Hallows Fog. The middle notes are Patchouli Leaves and Graveyard Mist. And the base notes are Haunted Woods and Soft Anise. Anise is not a scent note that I usually like because I'm not a big fan of licoricey fragrances, especially not, like a really rich, like sharp black licorice. But in this candle, it really works for me for whatever reason. This to me is a perfect Halloween candle because it is a little bit odd and a little bit weird, but it's also quite pleasant. It does have this sort of like thick, foggy vibe to it, and the patchouli note in here is really quite strong and quite sharp. It's got a real like funkiness to it. There's quite a bit of woodsiness as well. And then the anise in here gives it just a little bit of like that spooky black kind of licoricey vibe. And it's just a really interesting fragrance. It is a little bit odd, but it also works. You do definitely pick up on, it's kind of got that graveyard feeling to it, that sort of dark, spooky, funky woodsiness to it. There isn't really anything in this candle that gives it sort of a super pleasant, there's no berry or vanilla or soft woods or anything like that. This is very much like an interesting, like robust, thick, kind of funky fragrance. And, I can't really speak to the performance in terms of like how it burned, because obviously me transferring it into a different jar is also what caused the wicks to drift, right? Because I'm assuming that they glue the wick nickels down into the bottom of the candle, right? And so when you transfer it to a different jar, that glue obviously becomes undone and you end up with something like that. However, I was pretty happy with the way that this makeshift witch's cauldron burned for the most part. And the strength and throw was very, very good. I'd say in my more open space, this is easily getting up to like a 7 or a 7.5 for sure. This isn't really the type of fragrance that I would put in my bedroom or in a smaller space. It stayed in the more open concept among all of my, Halloween decor. Definitely a solid 7, maybe even getting up to a 7.5 on some of the burns. Really strong, really funky, really a good point of view on this fragrance. Yeah, I really like Witch's Cauldron from Goose Creek, and that is the last Halloween candle that I had hanging around in the candle closet that I needed to finish up. Let's move on to another Goose Creek candle. This one is Autumn Sunlight, and this is from last year. I don't know, I can't remember if this came out this year or not. I purchased this last year and I just never got around to burning it, so I brought it out this year. I think the packaging is really nice. Can't they just line this up? Can't they line up this seam just a little bit better? I don't get super annoyed when the seams are like super like noticeable, but it seems like they did such a good job of making sure that this wraparound would line up, but then it just didn't line up. But otherwise, I really like the packaging on this candle, and I thought that it looked beautiful when it was burning as well. We just had a plain like gold metallic Goose Creek lid on this one, and the scent notes on Autumn Sunlight are autumn spice, cardamom, cedar, and clove. And this is a good one. I really like this fragrance. It's very, very robust, and it's got a little bit of funkiness to it, a little bit of spiciness. If you don't like clove, I would definitely stay away from this one. And if you don't like that sort of sharp woodsy note that cedar often has, I wouldn't recommend this one either. This is a candle that I don't think is for everybody, and it's a shame that they don't have Goose Creek stores everywhere so you can like go in and try fragrances. I feel like this is a love it or hate it candle. For me, it's a love it for sure. Really, really good. Yeah, it's definitely got a fair amount of autumnal spice to it, but it's not heavy on the cinnamon. In fact, there's maybe just like a small little whisper of cinnamon in the top of this fragrance, but it's a very like bassy, like lower ranging fragrance with a lot of like clove and like a very, very sharp kind of pungent woodsiness to it. It's balanced quite well for a fragrance that's so low and so deep. It does have I'm not sure. Autumn sunlight. I'm not sure if that's what I would have named this candle. For me, this would be maybe more like an autumn evening or an autumn night or autumn at dusk or something like that. There's nothing, I guess maybe the sunlight is trying to convey, by saying sunlight, they're kind of trying to convey the sort of spicy warmth that this candle has. The fragrance definitely has like a woodsy warmth, a spicy warmth, a clovey warmth. So I kind of get what they're going for with autumn sunlight, but to me, it's really more of a nighttime candle than a daytime candle. Do you know what I mean? It's good. It's very, very rich. Yeah, I like this candle a lot, but I screwed up, you guys. I let this candle, once I got down to about this point here, I let this candle burn for a lot longer than I should have. I usually have like a 2-hour rule with 3-wick candles from Goose Creek, like 2.5 hours max, and I let this candle go for over 3 hours accidentally. I might have burned it for like 3.5 hours or something. And so when I went and I looked at it before I blew it out, and I knew immediately, I was like, oops, let that one go for a little bit too long. And I went over it to check on it, and sure enough, it had become really, really dark and swirly, but it didn't smell like the fragrance had become really compromised yet. I melted it all under a candle lamp in my bedroom, and so that's why the wicks looked displaced, and it smelled fine, actually. I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't because of how dirty and black it got, and you can't actually tell how dirty and black that it got because I melted the entire candle, so all that wax melted together, so it looks a little bit better than it actually was. You can still see that it became a little bit too dark and miscolored there, but anyways, it did really well under the candle lamp in my bedroom. When I was burning the candle, I'd say it was a very solid 7 for strength and throw, like easily a 7 in my more open space, and then melting the last bit of it under the candle lamp in my bedroom, it was probably getting up to like a 7.5, maybe even an 8. It was very, very, very strong. I enjoyed this one a lot, actually. I do think I would repurchase it. I'm hesitant to recommend a fragrance like this because I don't think a fragrance like this is for everyone. Clove, cedar, cardamom, autumn spice, but I really enjoyed it. So if you do find that your taste preferences tend to align with mine, this might be something that you would like. Did they repackage this candle as something else during Christmas time? Because I can actually picture them calling this some sort of Cedar Forest Christmas or something. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's move on. I also finished up Hoodie Season from Goose Creek. Oh yes, my friends, Hoodie Season. I believe that this was a brand new fragrance this year for Goose Creek. I really like the packaging on this candle. This is right up my alley. Just something very simplistic, a pretty color, a little gold illustration there in the middle with the name of the candle underneath. I really like sort of simplistic, minimal packaging like this. Plain gold metallic Goose Creek lid. I liked Hoodie Season, but it wasn't as strong as I was really hoping it was gonna be. The scent notes on here are soft hoodie, lavender woods, and creamy vanilla. And it doesn't smell anything like cozy flannel and vanilla from Bath and Body Works. It doesn't smell anything like that. It doesn't have that sort of sharpness to it that cozy flannel and vanilla has. This is a really lovely soft fragrance. So as opposed to a flannel, yeah, it's like a soft hoodie. There is a little bit of like a laundry vibe to it, almost in the sense, it doesn't smell like Cotton Vanilla Breeze from Goose Creek, but it has a very similar vibe to it as their Cotton Vanilla Breeze fragrance does. You definitely get that sort of like soft, cozy, like a bit of a cashmere-y vibe. Lavender woods, there's sort of a very vague sort of purple floral in there. It's not a floral candle though by any means. I'd say that this is first and foremost like a vanilla and cashmere fragrance. Yeah. You know, it's almost a little bit like Snowflakes and Cashmere from Bath and Body Works, but in a much like lower register. It's kind of like a softer, deeper Snowflakes and Cashmere in a way. Yeah, I liked this one quite a bit. I really, really did. I like the vanilla note in here. I think Goose Creek does such a good job with vanilla fragrances, or even just like their fragrances that have vanilla in them. Because I love vanilla, you guys. You guys know that. I always say I will hold myself out for a good vanilla fragrance, or even a good vanilla blend fragrance, or even a good fragrance with a nice, creamy, smooth vanilla in the bottom of it. I just love vanilla. And yeah, this is a good one. I really, really like this. It's a shame that it wasn't a little bit stronger. I burned this all the way down until I could see the wick nickels there. It did really, really well. It was a pretty good burn from top to bottom. Never dudded out. Never gave me like itty bitty wicks or teeny tiny flames. Reasonably clean wax by the end of things. But I'd say that the strength and throw like maxed out at like a 5.5 or a 6 in my more open space. I did have it in the bedroom and I enjoyed it more in the bedroom. I thought it made for a lovely bedroom fragrance, and it was definitely like a solid like 6 in the bedroom for sure. So it stayed in there most of the time. And that's kind of weak for a Goose Creek candle. You know, if this was a Bath and Body Works candle, I'd be like, this is pretty run of the mill. But for Goose Creek, you know, and for a fragrance like this to not be hitting a 6 in a more open space and a 7 in the bedroom, it's kind of an anomaly, you know? It's very rare that my complaint with Goose Creek is that there wasn't enough strength and throw, but with this fragrance, I would have liked for it to have been amped up a little bit. I would have loved for this to have been giving me like a 6 or a 6.5 in a more open space, and then like a solid 7 in a bedroom space, but it was, yeah, I still think I'll repurchase this one. I still think I'll repurchase this one. And if you're okay with a Goose Creek candle that's not a powerhouse, I don't have any reason not to recommend it to you either. I enjoyed it. I was just a little bit surprised at the lack of strength and throw on Hoodie season. But overall, still a good candle. And next fall, if it's back, I definitely think that I'll be getting myself another one. I also finished up this. This is the sort of oddball of the week. This is Vanilla Cupcake from a candle company called the Little White Bird Candle Company. A couple weeks ago, I did a video called Big Random Candle Haul, and I told the whole story about how I ended up acquiring this candle. Little White Bird Candle Company looks like a very, very small ma and pa type operation. They're hand poured in Mitchell, Manitoba. Manitoba is a province in Canada here, and I'm guessing Mitchell is a small town that's in Manitoba. So they're hand poured there. It says coconut soy wax, and the fragrance is Vanilla Cupcake. So I don't have any scent notes on here, and it doesn't even say how many ounces this is. I'm guessing this is maybe like 9.5 ounces, just a single wick on this candle here. And like I said, it's coconut soy wax, Vanilla Cupcake. I really, really like this fragrance. I love smelling this on cold. It's a really lovely, like rich, but also fluffy, like vanilla gourmand fragrance. Reminds me a little bit of vanilla creme brulee from Yankee Candle. Now, Yankee Candle also has a candle called Vanilla Cupcake, and I've burned and smelled Vanilla Cupcake from Yankee before. I've also burned and smelled Vanilla Creme Brulee from Yankee Candle before. This gives me more the Vanilla Creme Brulee vibes. It's got a really lovely richness to it. Yeah, really, really lovely fragrance. I burn this all the way down until there's barely anything left in there. I burn this in a hurricane in a really small space, so this would either be in the bathroom or on my desk. And in a fairly large hurricane, I had a hard time getting strength and throw out of this one, folks, and I hate to besmirch, Ma and Pa from Mitchell, Manitoba. I really had to search to smell this one though, and after a while it kind of just became an ambience candle for me. I put it in a little lantern in my living room and just had it giving me some nice lights for a while. I'd say that in the small bathroom in a hurricane, this was about a 4 for strength and throw. I had to be fairly close to it to be able to smell it, about 4 feet away from the hurricane to really be able to detect it. But this was a gift to me, and it really is a lovely vanilla fragrance. Yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to find myself in Mitchell, Manitoba ever again, so it's probably not going to be a repurchase for me, but I do love, supporting a small business Canadian candle company, and I enjoyed burning it, and I really enjoyed just picking this candle up and smelling it on cold. A really, really lovely, rich, fluffy, warm vanilla fragrance. Okay, I also got through some wax melts this week, some interesting ones. This one is Frosted Birch and Balsam from Goose Creek. And I had not tried this fragrance before. Not too long ago, a bunch of wax melts dropped to $3 or $4 each. So I ordered quite a few actually, and I've been going through them. And man, I've only done 3 wax melts from Goose Creek so far. Holy smokes, they are strong. Goose Creek does some really strong wax melts. The reason why it looks like a puck, it looks like a little bit like a hockey puck here. I don't have any wax melters. I just use wax melts. I put them in an empty, cleaned out Bath and Body Works vessel, and I just melt them under a heat lamp because I don't use any wax melters. The thing is, you guys, I've got all of my, in my place, I've got my candle pedestals, and I've got 3 candle lamps set up throughout my house and candle crocks. And so to be setting up wax melters as well would just be a little bit too crazy old lady territory for me. I think that having 2 candle crocks, 3 heat lamps, and 4 candle pedestals set up throughout my space is quite enough. And so I melt wax melts by just putting them in an empty Bath and Body Works candle jar, and I just put them under a candle lamp. And usually I will just put an entire package of wax melts in there. You know what I mean? Just really go for it. But after having done a couple of wax melts from Goose Creek before, they're so strong that I stopped doing the whole package at once. I put 3 little pieces of pie in there at first, and man, was it ever strong. Probably a 7.5 or an 8 for strength and throw. This was very, very, very strong. I was talking to Tracy from 3 Wick Thesis in a comment section not too long ago. I think after I finished melting some key lime cake pop wax melts, and she confirmed with me that Goose Creek wax melts are always delivering on the strength and the throw. And so if you're one of those people that don't like the way that Goose Creek candles burn, if they get a little bit too sooty for you, I would really actually recommend giving their wax melts a try. And I ended up really enjoying this frosted birch. What is it? Frosted Birch and Balsam. The scent notes on here are mountain air, frosted birch, rustic balsam, bright citrus, and elegant woods. Ooh, elegant woods. I've zapped pretty much all of the fragrance out of the wax. I liked this, but I did not love it. So mountain air, frosted birch, rustic balsam, bright citrus, and elegant woods. I don't think I appreciate the citrus note in here. It's nice. You know, there are so many good, like strong, robust balsam fragrances out this time of year. There's so much to choose from that this particular one is probably not one that I'm gonna repurchase. And it's because something in it comes off as a little bit sour to me. And not sour in a good way. It's comes across as a little bit sour to me in a slightly unpleasant way. It's definitely got a sort of similar balsam note in it as you get from fresh balsam from Bath and Body Works, but the birch is also in there, giving it a little bit more of a sort of smooth woodsiness. But then on top, there is a sour note, and I think it might be the bright citrus note. In the top of the fragrance, there's a little bit of a sour note. I couldn't tell you what kind of citrus this is. I couldn't tell you if it was orange or if it was bergamot or if it was lemon, but whatever it is, it gives it a little bit of a sour vibe that I'm just not completely on board with, you know? Yeah, not my birch and balsam fragrance, that's for sure, but the strength and throw was phenomenal and I have no problems. Like, I'm glad that I got to experience it once, and at least now I know, you know, before buying like a full-blown 3-wick candle, I'm probably going to avoid this one. Yeah, just not my favorite. A little bit sour. I did another wax melt this week as well. This is apple cider. This is a weird one, you guys. This is apple cider, and it's from a company called Salubrito. I don't know. I had never heard of this company before. The way that I acquired this, and also if you watched that video I was just talking about from a couple weeks ago that I did, the big random candle haul, I also acquired at Winners, they had on clearance a package of 10 Halloween themed wax melts. And some of them were really, really good. Some of them were terrible. And some of them were kind of mediocre. I'd say that this apple cider was one of the mediocre ones. Yeah, there's not much fragrance left in the actual wax. And there's no scent notes on this either. It actually reminds me a little bit of pumpkin apple from Bath and Body Works. It's got definitely, first and foremost, like it's an apple fragrance, but there's also a little bit of like an autumnal spice happening in there for sure. And it's a nice fragrance. It definitely smells a little bit cheap. You know, this is not like a high quality product, although oddly enough, it says 100% soy wax. And honestly, I know what soy wax is like when it's melted, and I know, like, the way that it looks. Like, soy wax when it's melted is very, very light, like almost like lighter than water, right? And even when this was melted in a vessel, it really didn't give me the sort of consistency when I was looking at it and moving it around. It really didn't give me the consistency that I would get from actual 100% soy wax. So I think that this company is a bit of a sham, but like I said, I got it was a box that came with 10 of these, different fragrances and colors and everything. And this one, they were shaped like little bats. I don't know if you can really see that now or not, but they were shaped like little bats. And it was on clearance, on the clearance rack for like $7.99 or $8.99 or something. And so it was less than $1 like per sleeve. And I was like, oh, what the heck, why not? Well, it was all right. It's an okay fragrance, but what I did notice about it, I just put all of it in there all at once, because as you can see, there's not a lot here. Like, this is this one, and this is the amount of wax you get with a Goose Creek wax melt, and this is the amount that I got with this weird company, this Salubrito, Salubrito. I don't think I'll be becoming a loyal, avid customer of this company. Although the fragrance wasn't terrible. It was under the heat lamp in the kitchen for a while, and it was very much like the whole thing liquefied. It got up to like a 6 for strength and throw for maybe a couple of hours, and then it was just gone. It was just nothing left. It did not last very long at all. Unlike the frosted birch and balsam from Goose Creek, which, you know, I kept under that candle lamp for quite a while, and the fragrance really lasted a long time, like many 8-hour melting sessions. This one was done after like 1 8-hour melting session. The second time that I tried to melt it, I really couldn't detect it at all. So yeah, that was just kind of an oddball. Kind of an oddball for you at the end of the weekly wax wrap up here. All right, and that's all I had for candles this week, but we have got quite a bit to talk about, you guys. How is everyone doing? What are your plans for Sunday night? What are you burning right now? Please do let me know in the comments below. We'll talk about Bath and Body Works really quickly right now. You know what I really want? I want those beautiful Moonlit Goddess and Magic in the Air candles. We haven't got them yet in Canada. I haven't seen them in the stores. They haven't shown up online yet, but I really want these. I like the Moonlit Goddess fragrance and I like the Magic in the Air fragrance, and I think that these candles look beautiful. That's definitely a different take on the fancy lid than we usually get, so I am keeping my eyes peeled for those. Of course, even once they do come out, I will not be paying full price for them. I'll be waiting until they are included in some type of sale, but I'm getting jealous seeing everybody's pictures and posts online. I need those candles. We've had some kind of odd things, like odd random things show up on the Canadian Bath and Body Works website, like this version of Book Loft. Book Loft in the Neutrals line just appeared out of nowhere the other day. I definitely want that because I like Book Loft and I like the look and the vibe of the Neutrals line's candles. So that's definitely on my wish list. I also haven't smelled a Toast to You yet. And this is like a fairly big like single fragrance launch that's happening. I haven't been into the store for a little while, so I haven't had the chance to try a Toast to You. But the candle is now up on the Bath and Body Works Canada website, and the scent notes on it are sequined plums, berry spritz, and smooth amber. Now, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this one or not. I haven't watched anybody's reviews or anything of this. The berry spritz note definitely gives me pause. I don't like super highly pitched, fuzzy, spritzy, berry forward candles, but I love plum candles, and I love amber candles, and I love plum amber candles. I always think of fairy dust from Village Candle when I'm thinking about a deep, rich plum and an amber candle. I've got a feeling that this is a pretty like berry forward, fruity Bath and Body Works body care fragrance, but I will still be interested to smell the candle, and I probably will pick it up and give it a try no matter what. I'm so curious. You guys know me. I'll try almost anything once, and I'll probably pick up the candle to give it a go. I think the packaging on this A Toast to You candle looks really nice. Also, we just randomly had this gingerbread cookie candle pop up on the Canadian Bath and Body Works website, and it's just like standing alone. It doesn't look like it's a part of a collection or anything yet. I don't know. Maybe I haven't looked at the website today, but as of yesterday, there's this one random like gingerbread cookie candle up there with scent notes of fresh baked gingerbread, spiced cloves, and swirls of vanilla frosting. That's not a fragrance for me. That's not likely something that I'm gonna try, but we do have a whole bunch of stuff happening over at Goose Creek. I finally posted my Goose Creek winter and Christmas candle haul yesterday. I had like 15 candles in that candle haul, so go and check it out if you haven't yet. And in classic Goose Creek style, you know, the second that those candles arrived, they put out 2 new Christmas candle collections, huge collections with tons of new fragrances in them. We have a collection that looks like this that I'm very, very interested in. I think I'm gonna have to be placing another order. If I do buy any more winter or Christmas candles, I'm definitely gonna end up having to carry some of them over to next year. I try not to buy more candles than I'm gonna go through in a season, and more often than not, I fail. So I haven't decided if I'm gonna do another order or not, but some of these new fragrances sound a little bit too good for me to resist. I like the looks of this winter wine cellar. The scent notes on here are Parisian Merlot, black wine grapes, wine barrel, and oak moss. Ooh, so like an oak barrel aged wine fragrance. I really like Tuscan Vineyard from Goose Creek, so this is very tempting. Winter wine cellar. Also in that collection, there's another new fragrance called Winter Wonderland, not to be confused with Goose Creek's just straight up Wonderland candle. This is Winter Wonderland, and the scent notes on that are balsam fir, frosted peppermint, and vanilla snow. Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds right up my alley. That's a new fragrance as well. And there's another new fragrance that looks really, really good from them. Brand new fragrance. It is called Snow Kissed Path. And the scent notes on this one, get this: fluffy vanilla, sweet spearmint, vanilla birch, and musk. These are a few of my favorite things. I think I might have to do another order, you guys. And then they released another collection with a couple new fragrances in it, one of them being snow-covered poinsettia, and the scent notes on that are icy frost, poinsettia petals, and snowy musk. That one definitely sounds interesting. And also they finally gave us winter vanilla balsam, which is a good one. Although I would have to say, I think I prefer vanilla balsam from Bath & Body Works, which we are expecting to get on Candle Day this year, if reports are to be believed. And stay tuned, you guys, because Steve and I have a date. The Saturday that Candle Day is happening, Steve and I are going shopping and filming a Candle Day candle haul video together. I actually do have Goose Creek's winter vanilla balsam here. I got it in the wax melt when it came out, and one of my least favorite things in the world are opening up plastic sleeves for wax melts. I just don't have the nails for it, you guys. The scent notes on winter vanilla balsam: balsam forest, snow-capped pine, and toasted vanilla. It's really nice. It does remind me a little bit of vanilla balsam from BBW, but I think that vanilla balsam from BBW is a little bit more nicely balanced and has a little bit of a smoother component to it. This one's really good though. Yeah, winter vanilla balsam from Goose Creek, still really good. It's definitely got like a nice, pungent, sharp, balsamy note and that like smooth, sweet, rich vanilla in the base of it. Yeah, I might have to get the candle as well. Really, really enjoy a winter vanilla balsam from Goose Creek. Woof! Anyways. Hey guys, just sort of adding into the edit here. Goose Creek does indeed have a ton of new stuff out again. More new collections and lots of gourmands. This Irish cream coffee candle seems interesting. We've got Mrs. Claus's Bakery, raspberry shortbread, Christmas fruit cake here. I mean, I'm surprised that we are getting so many gourmands from Goose Creek. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. I think I'll be sitting out most of these candles. Not really up my alley, but there is some pretty good looking stuff here. I like the looks of that balsam fir candle. We've got buttercream cinnamon bun. We've got their classic peppermint candle, gingerbread lane, pink snowflake, snowy walk. Yeah, lots going on over at the Goose Creek website. A new fragrance called White Christmas, a repackage of Winter Splendor. My goodness, they've been putting out a lot of candles. Just wanted to add that. Moving on, folks, I also wanted to talk about Voluspa for a second here. Is it Voluspa or Voluspa? I don't know. Tomato, whatever, who cares? Voluspa has put out 2 brand new candles for Wicked. Yes, Wicked. Now, I haven't seen the first Wicked movie or the second Wicked movie, and to be honest with you guys, I don't have any intention of seeing either. Believe it or not, you guys are gonna find this very hard to believe, but I am not a big fan of musicals. I'm really not. I did have the pleasure of seeing it live once though, and live is a whole different matter. I don't mind seeing a musical live, but I have a hard time sitting through a movie these days, especially a movie that's longer than 2 hours, especially a musical movie. I am far more interested in the candles than I am in the actual movie, to be honest with you. And they've put out 2, right? Because there's 2 witches. There's Glinda, and then there's the evil witch Elphaba. And so we've got Elphaba's Palo Santo. You guys know how much I love me some Palo Santo. And it's called Elphaba's Palo Santo Spells, actually. And the little note that they have on it on the website, the little scent story, it says, make dreams take flight with a wickedly wonderful olfactory potion to lift your senses and make them soar. Find your inner emerald spark with notes of crushed clove, Palo Santo, smoldering incense, and mountain oak moss. These are a few of my favorite things. A wild and untamed canopy of fragrance that sets the stage to unleash your inner magic. Defy expectations with Palo Santo spells. Oh my gosh, I definitely want to find this candle. In Canada, you can buy Voluspa at Chapters and at Indigo, so I'm gonna have to pop into one of those stores pretty soon here to see if I can get my hands on this one, because that sounds right up my alley. And then Glinda's candle is called Glinda's Cherry Blossom Bubble. This one I don't think that I'll be purchasing, but there is a scent story for it. It says, we can't all come and go by bubble, but we can float to another dimension by the fragrant pull of cherry blossom bubble. Drift between living in a dream and waking up in reality with notes of crisp coconut water, cherry blossom, peony petals, and soft vanilla. Glinda's aura will illuminate any room or mood, sparkle like Glinda, shine like you with cherry blossom bubble. You know what? That actually sounds all right. Maybe I will be getting both of them. And you can buy them like as a package. I'm assuming you can also buy them separately as well. But crisp coconut water, cherry blossom, peony petals, and soft vanilla. That actually doesn't sound that bad to me at all. As long as it's not too perfumey. I haven't burned a Voluspa candle in a hot minute. The last Voluspa candle that I burned was Kalahari Watermelon, which I actually really enjoyed. They've got some great fragrances. Noble Fir Garland is also another great Voluspa fragrance this time of year that I really enjoy. So yeah, I'll be really interested to check out those Wicked candles. Really interesting, especially that Elphaba's Palo Santo spells. Man, that one sounds right up my alley, folks. That's all I've really got in terms of like candle company news or updates and stuff like that for you this week. I did get a burning question, and this burning question is from one of my favorite subscribers. You guys, I try not to play favorites, but Michael from Montreal has been with me from the very beginning, a fellow Canadian. Michael, Michael, thank you so much for sending me in a burning question. And he's got quite a few burning questions. He's got 4 burning questions. You know what? I love a multiple burn. I love a multiple burning question. So let's see what Michael has to say today. He says, "Hi, Greg. Hope November is treating you well. I've been accumulating burning questions for a moment. Here they are. Number 1. What candles do you love so much, fragrance-wise, that you'd be willing to repurchase them despite awful strength and throw? Maybe they're so weak it's frustrating, but you just can't get enough of the fragrance." You know what? The first thing that comes to mind immediately is Yankee Candle. There are so many Yankee Candle fragrances that I like so much, but they have really struggled with their strength and throw for quite a while now. In fact, right now I'm burning 2 dried lavender and oak candles from Yankee. I bought the first one in tumbler form because I loved the fragrance so much. By the way, here in Canada, you can get Yankee candles at Walmart now. So I bought the 2-wick tumbler. I love the fragrance, but it wasn't giving me the strength and throw that I needed. So I also bought the 3-wick. And I've been burning them together, and I'm happy to report that when I'm burning both of these candles at the same time, it's getting up to like a 6 or a 6.5 for strength and throw in my more open space. And another fragrance from Yankee that I was actually talking about at the beginning of this video was, vanilla creme brulee. That's another beautiful, lovely vanilla fragrance that I just love, but the candle gives off like no strength and throw. If I ever were to want that fragrance again, I would probably buy 2 of them so that I could get some decent strength and throw. And speaking of candles fragrance-wise that I love so much that I'll buy even if they don't perform well, Voluspa. I was just talking about those Voluspa candles. Voluspa has beautiful, beautiful fragrances, but they also suffer from low strength and throw issues. And so Voluspa candles gotta go in like a hurricane in like a smaller space. I'm not gonna be buying 2 of them because Voluspa candles are a little bit on the pricier side of things, but that Noble Fir Garland is definitely a candle from Voluspa that I love. And I will buy it and I will put it in a hurricane in a smaller space so I can get the strength and throw that I want. If we're talking Bath & Body Works, I actually really like the Bath & Body Works Vanilla Bean candle. And I am burning 2 different versions of the Vanilla Bean candle right now because I love that. It's like a nice, soft, and sweet vanilla bean fragrance. Right now, I am burning like the White Barn version of Vanilla Bean and also the ceramic jar version of Vanilla Bean. I'm burning them at the same time and getting them up to about a 6 for strength and throw. And by the way, I'm gonna be finishing those candles off and talking about them pretty shortly because the ceramic jar version and the White Barn version are performing very differently. Once again, kind of like with fresh balsam here, the ceramic jar Vanilla Bean candle has slightly colored wax and thick ropey wicks, and then the White Barn version of the candle has white wax and thin core wicks. So they're both performing quite differently as well. I hope that's a satisfactory answer to your first question, Michael. I emailed him back because he's French and the correct way to pronounce his name is not something that I want to attempt to do because my French is horrible. Oh my God, the first time I went to Montreal, they really hated me there because I was trying to speak French and they were just not having it. Picture me walking into a 7-Eleven in Montreal, bonjour, and the guy at the counter being like, "How can I help you, sir?" Anyways, Mikhail, I'm just gonna be calling you Michael, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friend. Anyway, your second question says, conversely, have you ever decided not to repurchase a candle because it was too strong, even though you enjoyed the fragrance? Well, the brand that comes to mind first in that case is Goose Creek. And if you watched my weekly wax wrap up from 2 or 3 weeks ago, I talked about Very Scary Brownie, which, you know, isn't really a fragrance that I loved, but it would have been tolerable if it was like a 7 for strength and throw. But that Very Scary Cherry Brownie candle from Goose Creek, that was a 10 for strength and throw. In fact, that might have been maybe the second time I've ever given a candle on this channel a 10 for strength and throw. I mean, that candle just felt like it was punching me in the face way too hard. Not the way that I like it. I needed my safe word. I needed my safe word to be burning that candle because that was just too much for me. Yeah, Goose Creek does have some candles that do get a little bit too strong for me sometimes. However, I do have to say that if I love the fragrance enough, then a 10 for strength and throw is just fine with me. Give it to me good. Just not that Scary Cherry Brownie candle. That was too much. Okay, Mikhail, your third question says, you mentioned several times never using your kitchen and not cooking. My question is, you look super healthy to me, so what do you eat on a daily basis? Do you only eat takeout? Do you ever buy groceries? I hope this doesn't cross any boundaries. No judgment at all. I'm just genuinely curious. Well, Michael, I don't really think that this question or answer is going to appeal to all of the people out there. This isn't the most riveting, burning question I've ever had, and I think that my answer is gonna come across as very, very obnoxious. I do not use my kitchen. That's why I'm always like melting gourmand fragrances in my kitchen, because I am not cooking in there. I don't even think my oven stove has been plugged in for a couple of years. But thank you for saying I look super healthy. I'm actually incredibly out of shape right now. No, I don't cook. I hate cooking, and I also hate the cleaning that comes from cooking. It's just not my thing. I've always been like that. I don't really picture myself changing at this ripe old age. I do buy groceries though, and I depend very, very heavily on my salad delivery service. I order like 5 salads a week from this company called Inspired Go. And actually, if you are in Canada, I really recommend Inspired Go. If you really love a good like shake and go salad, Inspired Go does it up right. And you can also get like fruit trays from them and little healthy snacks. And you can get chicken breasts and like top sirloins to like put on your salad. I basically live off of Inspired Go salad delivery. I mean, for breakfast every day, I have like a piece of fruit, like a banana or an apple, and some yogurt, and then maybe like a granola bar or something like that. For lunch every day, it's my shake and go salad, and then I have dinner plans every night. Most of the time, those dinner plans are that I go down the street to my boyfriend's house, because my boyfriend can cook, and he's a really good cook, and he's actually really good at like cooking really healthy food and making it tasty. And then on those other nights of the week, I usually go out. I usually have plans with like my family or a friend or something. I literally never ever cook. I know it's really bad. I know that that makes me a bad adult, but hey, I mean, if you look in my fridge, it's just a whole bunch of like cold brew coffee. I usually keep milk, all of my salads, a couple fruit trays, maybe a veggie tray. It's really, really bad. I know. I don't cook. I can't cook. I don't do it. I don't want to do it either. And like I said, I really don't think that at my ripe old age I'm going to be changing anytime soon. Okay, we have one last question here, Michael. Question 4. Please design 2 candles right now that would smell so bad to your nose you wouldn't even gift them to your worst enemy. And then with musical emojis, he says, these are a few of my least favorite things. I love you, Michael. You crack me up. Okay, 2 candles that would smell so bad to my nose that I wouldn't even gift them to my worst enemy. I hate a licorice fragrance. Oh, I hate like a dark, pungent, sharp, black licorice fragrance. Oh, I can tolerate some anise fragrance in a candle, but a straight up black licorice, I would never, ever, ever, ever do. So what would that licorice candle be? I don't know, like black licorice and chocolate. Ugh. Wouldn't be able to do that. So my first gross candle would be black licorice and chocolate. My second gross candle would probably be grapefruit something. I have come across a couple grapefruit candles that I like. One of them was from Homeworks, actually. Homeworks does a decent, is it like sparkling grapefruit candle? But if I was to design a gross grapefruit candle, I would do like a grapefruit soda. A grapefruit soda sparkly fragrance. Yeah, like a salty grapefruit sparkling bubbly fragrance. No, thank you, Michael. And thank you guys for bearing with me. I wasn't around last weekend. Oof, I had a stomach virus that literally brought me down to my knees, if you know what I'm saying, and I think you do. I was so sick with this stomach flu, you guys. I don't think I had been that sick for years. I really don't remember the last time that I was homebound, just so sick. It had me under the weather for a very, very solid 4 days, and it was right over the weekend too, of course. So I never did my Goose Creek candle haul or a weekly wax wrap up last weekend. What I did do instead was I posted in my community page sorry guys, not posting this weekend because I am so sick. And I mean, I wasn't fishing for well wishes and get betters and attention. I really wasn't. I just wanted to let everybody know that there weren't going to be any videos coming up from me. But you guys just gave me an outpouring of love and support and cheer and get well and advice for how to deal with an upset stomach. I really felt the love, and it actually really, really did lift my spirits. It really did, you guys. Thank you so much for all the beautiful comments that you left on that post. I'm glad to say that by the time Tuesday rolled around, I was much better. By the time Wednesday rolled around, I was right as rain. Thank goodness my boyfriend came over with soup that he had made and took very, very, very good care of me. But for 2 days there, all I was having was coconut water, Pedialyte, white rice, and dry white toast. Ugh. It was awful. And it was one of those sicknesses too where you couldn't even enjoy just laying on the couch and watching TV. At one point I thought to myself, oh, maybe I'll get some work done. Got out my computer. I have this big report that I have to write up for work and it's due at the end of the year. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll try to get a little bit of work done. Get my computer out. It was not pretty, you guys. It was really, really not pretty. But I'm feeling much better now. And I did get the chance to watch the first 36 minutes. I watched the first 36 minutes of that show, All's Fair, and it has Kim Kardashian, Naomi Watts, Niecy Nash, Sarah Paulson in it. Shout out to my subscriber, Heather. Apropos Heather, she really wanted me to try and watch this show and start covering it at the end of my weekly wax wrap-ups. Girl, I'm sorry, I could only get through the first 36 minutes of the first episode. This one was hard. It is terrible, and it was kind of hilarious with how terrible it was, but I just couldn't really picture myself dedicating much more time to it. I mean, I think we all knew this, but Kim Kardashian cannot act. She really, really, really couldn't. She was not good. She was really not good. It was an awkward show to watch. Was it so bad that it was good? I'm not sure. I think it might have just been so bad that it was really, really, really bad. Kim Kardashian can't act, and she can't pass the bar either, apparently. She wants to become a lawyer in real life, and apparently she failed the bar the first time that she took it, which apparently the California bar is like the hardest test in the world that you could possibly take. So you know what? I hope that Kim K eventually gets there, because she's certainly not an actress, my friends. So in this show, you know, Kim Kardashian plays a lawyer, and she starts her own like all-female law firm with Niecy Nash and with, what's the other actress? Naomi Watts. And Sarah Paulson doesn't go with them to start their new all-female divorce lawyer firm or whatever. So Sarah Paulson is a bitter Betty about that. And I mean, this was just so unbelievable and ridiculous, you guys. I have to say my favorite part of the episode was when they started playing, Kim Kardashian is like driving in her car. Of course, there's all these long montages and shots of the girls like driving in their car, walking around beautiful houses and whatnot. And in the background, they were playing Someone to Call My Lover by Janet Jackson. You remember that song? All right, baby, gotta find him today. I gotta get someone to call my lover. Hey, baby, come on. That was my favorite part of the first 36 minutes of the first episode. And when that song is playing, Kim Kardashian is like driving to her house and goes in there and goes to see her boyfriend and sits down at her table, and there's like a million candles lit. She's got like a million white tapers lit in little crystal taper holders like on her table, and she sits down, and her bad boyfriend comes in, and they get into an argument because he forgot that it's their anniversary. Kim Kardashian's like, do you have any idea what day it is? And the bad boyfriend's like, oh, it's not your birthday. That's April 11th. What could it be? Kim K's like, it's our anniversary. And the boyfriend's like, oh no, oh, F me raw, he says. He says, F me raw. Just like, oh my God, Ryan Murphy, what are you doing to us here? There's a scene too where all the lawyers, the female lawyers, all sit down for like a meeting with their client, and they're like, ooh, we just got an Americano machine. Our Americanos here are to die for. I mean, nothing about this is even slightly believable. Like everything from the setting to the characters to the plot to the script, everything is like a 1 out of 10 horrible. And one of my biggest pet peeves in like TV shows and movies are when they're drinking coffee or tea. Bad coffee mug acting just drives me nuts. When you can tell that they've got nothing at all in those coffee mugs, they all sit down for coffee, and they've got a fabulous new coffee machine at the law firm. They're like, cheers, cheers, like swinging their coffee cups around. I hate bad coffee acting. You can actually see in the shot that the cups are empty, but then the way that they're cheersing each other and swinging the coffee cups around, you can tell that they're empty. I know that's a weird thing, but it always bugs me in TV shows that you can always tell that there's nothing in their darn coffee cups. God, it was really, really bad. And then their first client, or a new client that comes into this all-female, all-divorce case law firm, the first client sits down and is like, I know that you all are the best divorce lawyers in the whole country. I just couldn't, you guys. I really, really couldn't. It felt like my brain was like melting away. It felt like I was becoming dumber watching the show. You know what I mean? I really couldn't do it, you guys. I'm sorry, Heather. I hope we can still be friends, but I'm not going to be able to watch All's Fair. I gave the first 36 minutes of the first episode a try and I'm out. But what we do have to talk about, you guys, is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. What a doozy. I mean, these ladies never fail to deliver. This season is cinematic. Okay, so we left things off. They're all on their yacht trip. And they're doing like a crossover of like Below Deck and the Real Housewives, right? And I'm living for it because I also really, really love Below Deck. But these bitches have been fighting ever since the second that they stepped on this yacht, fighting at every dinner. You know, the staff are just horrified by their behavior. And they sit down for like one of their final meals together and freaking Brittany decides to let slip. She says, oh, and Meredith, I just saw a TikTok all about your husband cheating on you. Apparently there's some TikTok that went viral and it's like an Uber driver who drove Meredith's husband around with some other woman. So Meredith's husband is obviously cheating on her with this other woman and Meredith just freaks out absolutely, but doesn't freak out as bad as you would have thought that she would have, which gives you pause, and you'll find out why shortly here. And so they all get off the yacht. Finally, their yacht trip has like come to an end. Thank goodness, before a murder happened, they're getting off of this yacht and they're all flying home together. And they all fly home together on the same plane, except for Bronwyn. Bronwyn gets on a different plane. I don't know if she only does private jets or whatever, but they all fly home together in first class on this plane. And so this entire episode is basically a recounting of what happened on this flight. Ooh, I love a recounting. I love when something happens off camera. You know what I mean? It's also frustrating because you think to yourself, well, obviously they just didn't book the cameramen or the producers or whatever to be on this flight. But also none of the women got out their phones or took any video or pictures of what happened on this flight. The entire episode is a recounting of how Lisa and Meredith were harassing Brittany the entire flight all the way home. And I mean, it is wild. Like, Brittany is traumatized. All the other girls are horrified. So this whole episode, we're like, oh my goodness, what the heck happened on this flight? The entire episode is a recounting. Bronwyn sits down for lunch with Mary, and Mary tells her how awful Lisa and Meredith were to Brittany the whole flight home. And then Whitney's golfing with her husband and telling her husband what a horrible, unbelievable, unacceptable scene Lisa and Meredith were making on the flight home. And then Lisa sits down and tells her husband what happened. And then Brittany sits with Heather. Brittany is the one that Lisa and Meredith were bullying on this flight, allegedly, the entire time. So Brittany sits down with Heather, and Heather's literally, like, genuinely like, are you okay? How are you doing? That was a lot. And Brittany's just like, honestly, it's been really hard. I'm traumatized. I'm really traumatized. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't believe it. These women are horrible. And Heather was like, that was completely unacceptable, the way that they were treating you. I mean, I was asleep almost the whole time, but then when I woke up, I could hear what Meredith was saying to you. I was appalled. You don't deserve to be treated like that, Brittany. That was ridiculous. And then Bronwyn sits down with Whitney, and Whitney fills Bronwyn in on the atrocious behavior from Lisa and Meredith on this flight. And then Heather meets with Lisa, and Lisa was part of the bullying here, and Lisa is like playing it off. Lisa and Meredith are like, deny, deny, deny. What are you talking about? We were just having a good time. What are you talking about? We might have accidentally spilt a little bit of wine. We might have accidentally knocked her seat a little bit when we were getting up, but we were fine. We were fine. We were just fine. Like Meredith eventually sits down with Mary, and Meredith is like, deny, deny, deny. Meredith, of course, is like, if I was really behaving the way all of you say that I was behaving, there would have been an air marshal waiting for me when I got off the flight. I would have been arrested. I'd be in jail right now. I accidentally spilt a little bit of wine. I might have accidentally knocked her seat a little bit when I was standing to get up to go to the washroom, but it really wasn't that bad. And Mary, I was so proud of Mary because Meredith was like, I'm not sure what you think you saw, but it wasn't that bad. And Mary's like, oh, I know what I saw. It was really bad. I know what I saw. That was ridiculous, atrocious behavior. And then God bless the producers and the editors who give us the seating chart of the flight that they were on. I love a good piece of evidence. I bring forth evidence of the seating chart of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City flight home from the yacht. Let me look at this seating chart so that we can really, really get into the details here. So Lisa and Meredith are sitting in row 5. And Heather is sitting in row 5 as well, across the aisle from Lisa. And then in front of Lisa and Meredith is Brittany, who they're bullying. So Lisa and Meredith are bullying Brittany. And then across the aisle in row 4, across the aisle from Brittany is Whitney and Mary. And then in front of Whitney, Angie is up above them. So Angie doesn't really know what happened at all. But Mary and Whitney and Heather were across the aisle from Brittany and Lisa and Meredith and are just like, can't believe the horrible behavior and the bullying that Lisa and Meredith were doing to Brittany. And I'm reading between the lines here, and I'm getting the sense that this was like some really awful, like low-key class clown bullying behavior. Do you know what I mean? This is what I think's happening. You know how there's like that kid in class who is super disruptive and a bully? That kid in class that's a disruptive bully, but is down low enough about it that the teacher never calls them out? I'm guessing that Lisa and Meredith were that like down low key, like class clown bully. Apparently they were like bumping her seat, accidentally spilt some wine on her, talking trash about her the entire flight, getting up and leaving, coming back, knocking her seat, talking about her. And Meredith is talking to Mary and is like, I didn't even think that Brittany could hear us. Brittany had her headphones on. How could she hear us? And how could you hear us? You weren't even sitting with us. And then the brilliant producers and editors give us the seating chart to show us that they were all sitting really pretty close together. But Lisa and Meredith are just like, deny, deny, deny. We weren't that bad. I didn't even think Brittany could hear us. She had her headphones on. What are you talking about? We were fine. We were fine. We were just asking her to show us that TikTok again. All we were doing was asking her to let us see that TikTok again. What? I mean, nobody got out their camera phone and started filming this? There was no producer there with them whatsoever on the flight back? What happened on that plane? What happened on that plane? I need to know. Although, like I said, I think I've pretty much deduced what happened. It was that like low-key, like disruptive, bullying behavior, right? Not bad enough for the teacher to get you in trouble, but bad enough to like ruin someone's day, ruin someone's life, ruin someone's self-esteem. I really do think Meredith and Lisa are evil, and I'm not a big fan of Brittany either, to be honest with you, but Meredith and Lisa teamed up together, that can be pretty brutal. Ooh. So juicy. I love it when there's an off-camera scandal and all that we can do is like piece together everybody's story and read between the lines. It's giving me Kathy Hilton and Lisa Rinna in the Sprinter van. Does anybody remember Kathy Hilton and Lisa Rinna in the Sprinter van on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? And then during the reunion that season, Lisa Rinna bursts into tears and is like, the Sprinter van on the way home in the Sprinter van. Kathy was saying the most atrocious things to me, the most horrible things, degrading things, politically incorrect things. It was the worst Sprinter van trip of my life. But once again, no cameras, no footage, no producers anywhere. What happened in that Sprinter van? What happened on this airplane? Good Lord, Salt Lake City is giving this season. Salt Lake City is cinematic, dramatic. It's giving me everything that I need to know. These are the craziest women, and I think it might be the best show that Bravo has right now, just because these women are so deranged, so crazy, and have absolutely no self-awareness at all. And I live. I live. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today, folks. That's all I've got for you, my beautiful, gorgeous, and dear candle-loving friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on Instagram at allaboutcandles and email me those burning questions to allaboutcandles@gmail.com. If you could hit me up with a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, give me some of those hype points, I would really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday and a fabulous week ahead. And until next time, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye for now.